So, a common, very common um, rhetorical tactic or method of argument, you could call it, although it barely qualifies. Something that trad caths will say is, you know in your heart that traditional Catholicism is actually true, or what have you. You know it. And your only motivation is you want to sin. You just want to be free to do whatever you want to do and live whatever awful, sinful, selfish, self-indulgent life you want to live. And you just want to ignore the wisdom of the church, which is so which is such an obvious thing, right? That only some kind of reprobate or maniac would ever leave, because the desire to do bad and the desire to offend God is your only motivation, is a very, very common tactic. Um, and of course, they have their deflection and their self-immolating kind of statements of we're all sinners though, and we all struggle, and that's their attempt to sort of like make them seem less, um, by throwing in a little self hatred or self criticism that's supposed to, you know, make okay or justify, legitimize everything they say about you, right? So, but that's not how it works. I have encountered that online and in person, I believe somebody said that to me in person, but I've encountered that argument, and I don't even, uh, it is the easiest thing in the world to refute, because I know what I think. I know what's truly in my heart now, what's truly in my soul. And I am not constantly questioning or second guessing or violently pushing away in a cognitive dissonance kind of overload the things I encounter or things I experience or things I believe or things I would even say I know that contradict or counter what traditional Catholicism says. And so, that all to say, the entire, because the entire world they live in is so, it's so inward in a sort of paradoxical way, because of course the goal is to have a complete surrender of self, is to lose yourself, is to be, surrender yourself to God, surrender your intellect. Things that on the surface sound very, you know, noble or admirable, to be obedient and to be a good, but at the same time, this is very often mixed in with the right wing, the political system that is centered around, fighting back, and you don't tell me what to do, and that's the political ethos of the traditional Catholicism, of just sort of like independent kind of spirit, which is a complete joke, because they and the deeper you get in traditional Catholicism, for sure, they want to bring the monarchy back. They think America was a mistake. And the ideas behind our founding are fundamentally bad. The idea of self-government is bad because it's all about just surrendering your mind, your body, everything, being a slave to the Catholic Church. That is essentially what traditional Catholicism wants to have back. They want world, to say world domination sounds silly, but I mean that is basically, yeah, world domination. Not anything they have any chance, a snowball's chance in hell of achieving anytime soon, at least. But, you know, laugh, comment about how stupid that is if you want. What does the social reign of Christ the King mean, other than world domination. Um, and so, but of course, it's good if it's good to dominate the world if we do it, is what they would say. But the anti and the anti-intellectualism that is at the core in all of this, which Kevin, formerly Kevin Non-Tradicath, now Kevigen of Alexandria, I'm still getting used to that. He did a great video about the anti-intellectualism of the church, and I'll attach that in link below there. But you will inevitably, invariably get up to this despite however much they will try to insist that everything that they are, you'll hear this too. We're not robots. We're not, blindly obeying. But that is some of the richest doublespeak you'll ever encounter. If a traditional Catholic ever tells you that they're not blindly obeying, they're just the cognitive they're either just knowingly lying, but more likely the cognitive dissonance is just really, really throwing them for a loop, because what they ultimately ask of you in surrendering your intellect is being a slave, is being a zombie. There's no two ways about it. And you will ultimately, if you try to take them at their word and try to have an honest, like, you know, completely rational, scientific method approach to getting to the bottom of these questions with them, without any doubt, you are ultimately going to get to a situation where their only answer is something along the lines of, well, you just know this is true, or you just want to sin, or you're, you think that because you're afflicted by the devil, you're possessed by the devil. There's this invisible boogeyman, and you know if you believe in the devil, I'm not mocking you, but I would, because lots of people, the majority of this country is Christian, but I would say for the majority of Christians, that's something that you believe in a very, very spiritual sense, not in a that demons are really super physically manifesting themselves all the time. But they believe that so much, and for anyone who doesn't take that idea seriously, they are surround the constant fear, the constant stress and anxiety you live in as a traditional Catholic, surrounded by all these evil baddies, ghosties, demons, these spirits that, you know, how you're supposed to combat them varies and change. The advice you'll get changes within different exorcists. And I'm still intending to do a deep dive on Ripperger because he is a Tradcath hero, and he is not emotionally unstable like many of them are. He's very calm and clear when he talks, which makes him all the more dangerous because that you accept that more. But if you really, really break down what he's saying, holy shit! So I'll talk about. Hopefully, I'll be get at some point. But point being, point being here, there is just try it, I guess. If you're in the same sort of belief set as I am, or in the same place in life as I am right now, and you have these same questions, and it doesn't necessarily have to even be traditional Catholics. I would say this applies as well to any loved one or friend of yours in a high control religious group. It's the same thing. It's the same, ultimately, because there's ultimately a point where their only method of swaying you is via threat, via force, via shaming, via it no it will turn very quickly into an I got nothing except you believe me or else kind of thing. And the or else, well, in the spiritual sense, the or else is going to hell. That's the eternal punishment is, all the time brought up as a motivation and reasoning. The Pascal's wager idea is constantly, reminding you of the spiritual snipers that are surrounding you at all times, the threat you're under. It's like, yeah, have your little curiosity, have your fun little intellectual pursuits as far as we let you take it. If you start to get up to things we're not comfortable with, we're going to start pulling out the you're endangering yourself. You're a bad person. You know it. You know you want to sin. Don't you go there. Don't you go there. But you have to go there. Be it go there in terms of questioning their dogma if you want to be intellectually honest as they claim. So the the cognitive dissonance, the opposite world, the two opposite ideas you have to hold on at the same time and make sense of. Every religion, I would say honestly, has that to some degree. But I think we all experience that to some degree. That is a very, very human thing, actually. But you have to have it in certain doses. There's only so much contradiction we can take. And the natural world, the world we live in every day, has plenty of it. And to pile so much more on top of it, to spend all your time not only feeling the threats, the spiritual threats, of punishment that's constantly around you, add on to that, trying to constantly your brain's rattling back and forth, trying to make sense of all these contradictory concepts. It is inherently abusive to have a structure set up like this. And, for those of you who are watching this and are in that structure in the traditional Catholic world and feel totally comfortable in it, I am willing to believe that might be true. I'm not going I'm not going to do what I just criticized other people doing and say, well, you know that I'm right, or you know that that's bullshit. I would, I'm completely acknowledging if you disagree with me about how you feel, if you love that environment, I'm acknowledging to you that that very well could be true. But I would also assume that you've had doubts a little bit, or if you converted, you didn't believe in this at one point. Um, so you have some experience of knowing what it feels like, unless you were born and raised in it, like I was. You have some experience of knowing what it feels like to see this from the perspective of it not being true, or certain things not being true. So just remember that. Just remember that as a way of in this staying in the mode of accepting evidence, of accepting the possibility of your mind being changed. Because however wonderful an experience you have, however much your brain and your heart are intertwined in whatever is anchoring you into this world, I would simply say that that can all be well and good, that can all be valid, but just consider, just maybe mentally, spiritually, look around and honestly think of, am I under threat? Am I using my intellect to the best of my ability? And if I'm not, if I'm holding something back, if I'm refusing to let myself go there, or if I'm refusing to even consider a certain possibility, ask yourself why you're doing that. And ask yourself if that's it's a good way to live. Hate to sound preachy, so I try to be as, like, I guess casual with like, just try this. I don't know, maybe think about it. Why not? Because I do not want to become what I am, fighting against. So keep keep liking, keep subscribe if you haven't already. I'll have some interviews coming out soon, I think, and I'll attach Kevin's video. Subscribe to him if you're not already. I hope you fly away to victory.